at TwinCitiesNewsTalk.com. But I don't want to waste any more time because we have a guest who's been waiting very patiently as we've been running late. Secretary of State candidate Kim Crockett.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for giving us some time and joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You can hear me okay? I'm up in Walker, Minnesota.
Yeah, no, sounds good.
What do you had pretty good reception up there?
What are you doing in Walker?
Well, the whole statewide ticket was up here last night with Cass County Republicans. Just an amazing group of people who understand that these what we call BPOUs, the basic political units that operate all over the state, are there to support candidates. And they were doing a big fundraiser, selling cool things, lots of things with flags, of course, and to support our ticket, the statewide ticket, and also House and Senate candidates. So Scott was up here, Dr. Jensen was up here, Ryan Wilson, who's going to make an amazing state auditor, and Jim Schultz, who'll be our new Attorney General to,
Boy, a clean sweep would be.
Bring the hammer down.
It's a great ticket, and a clean sweep would be something special. We've been talking a lot this morning about the upcoming elections, the next presidential election, and the desire on a lot of people's parts to quote unquote sort of relitigate what happened in 2020. And talking with Max, and I think it's fair to speak for Max that we both sort of came to a point where it's not necessarily what we when it comes to relitigating 2020 that we want to go through it all again and root out all the wrongdoers and things like that. I think for a lot of people, they just want to be sure that what happened in 2020, what happened with that election, will never, ever, ever happen again in this country. So as a Secretary of State candidate, obviously that's like the prime responsibility of that office, among others and among many others. But, election administration is sort of the hallmark of your campaign. So what can you tell us as Kim Crockett, as Secretary of State, what she would do with that office to make sure that a repeat of 2020 never happens again in this state?
Well, first of all, I want to blame Max for you guys being behind schedule this morning. I'm sure it's just
not unfair. Yep.
Hi, Max.
You call balls and strikes, Kim. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. No, I mean, that's a hard question, Drew, because I'm not the Secretary of State. But let me give you some. We have to win, first of all.
Right.
We need a new administration. We need a new legislature to pass the bills that wonderful people like Senator Kiffmeyer teed up that didn't become law, like banning Zuckerbucks and bringing photo ID back, just common sense measures back to Minnesota. So that's the charge for everybody listening out there. Is one of the things that they said last night in Cass County is go grab 11 people. It's a big number to bring to the polls with you. Don't limit yourself to traditional Republicans, but look broadly at all those folks that Dr. Jensen was describing and bring them to vote and ask them to vote for Republicans this year. My line is, you don't have to marry us. You don't have to call yourself a Republican. Just date us for a while. And if you don't like what we do, you can break up with us. But we think you'll be pleased with the results and stick with us long run.
Swipe right on Republicans.
What was that, Drew?
Swipe right on Republicans.
There. So when I'm out talking with people, I've been on a lot of parades. I've been meeting with cultural groups like Russians and Hmongs and Hispanics and Somalis. They want to go back to the basics. They want things like photo ID to vote because it gives them confidence that that people are who they say they are. I'm hearing good news out on the trail. You know how I've been asking counties to follow the party balance rule for the counting of all these absentee ballots, to have Republicans and Democrats working together to process those. And counties are doing it. I can't give you a count right now, but they are rejecting these drop boxes that were a feature not just in 2020, but before that. And they're looking for party balance. So if you can do it, folks, contact your county and ask to be on a ballot board. It's a paid position that lasts for many weeks. around the, but if you're retired or you have control of your schedule, get in there and be a citizen this year. I want to skinny down all that absentee voting, Drew and Max. I think we need to get back to voting in person.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that
on election day.
For sure, but you can do it for a week before election day at your city hall. So you get to go in and grab your ballot, fill it out, just like you would on election day. The only difference is you don't have all the election judges there. You're dealing with the city clerk and stuff. But it's the most secure way to vote versus all these envelopes getting mailed out and filling things out and mailing them in or dropping them off.
I think it's really funny. I mean, it's funny and it's telling that the people that scream the loudest about how, we must protect our democracy, yet they're willing to hand their ballot over to a stranger and just give it to them and be like, here, I hope this gets counted. Here, U.S. Mail, I hope this ends up at the right place. Here, Dropbox, I hope you don't get robbed. I hope you don't end up on a truck that maybe gets a flat tire and the ballot. Why would you do that? If you care that much about democracy and you care that much about every vote matters and every vote needs to be counted, why are you letting third parties and middlemen have custody of your one single ballot, your one vote, the only vote you have? Why would you not do that in person and turn it in and make sure that it gets counted? It's baffling to me.
Yeah, that was a good rant. I like that. And why would you not ask your government to make sure that somebody else doesn't cancel you out?
Right.
By not being eligible to vote.
Every illegally cast vote disenfranchises one voter.
Right.
Kim, you and I have had the conversation a number of times. Just even Drew had mentioned specifically having confidence, even if you are mailing in your ballot, which you and I have talked a little bit about. For instance, just one example of the potential for fraud. We're sending our ballots, along with a Postal Union that is also sending out marketing material on behalf of Democrat candidates. Am I accurate in that assessment? So, in some cases, the Postal Union, who we're supposed to entrust with, this process, not to demonize postal workers. I don't think that's the point. But
no, not at all.
No, it's not the point. But what you're saying is that the Postal Union is a partisan player in national, state, and local politics, and they are.
It's accurate.
Just like the teachers union, as an institution, it's a bias, within the operation, and makes you kind of go, huh? After 2020, you start looking at everything, and Max, that's a good point. And you're right. It's not to demonize postal workers individually, but why do we entrust our votes to any system that's not as secure as possible? I guess that's the way to look at it. And voting in person is still your best bet, folks. So try to encourage everyone to return to those traditions that give us more confidence. The e-poll books that we use to check in now that seemed so slick when we started don't always work. The software isn't always updated. And state law requires election officials to have the paper voter registration right there in the precinct. Why not just use the paper one to begin with?
Yeah.
Right?
Why not?
I was going to mention Dr. Jensen's book. One of the things he's urging us to do is kind of get back to basics and away from kind of high-tech medicine. Well, I would say let's get back to basics in elections and get away from high-tech election processes that we don't understand, we don't trust, we don't control. And the whole goal, you asked about relitigating 2020, Drew. I think that we're learning a lot. It takes time when you have the people in power who don't want to look at it. I mean, Maricopa is a good example where you have strong Republican powers in Arizona who've been trying to get to the bottom of what happened in Maricopa County, but you have election officials in that county who don't want to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
And it's, here we are, not 2 years later, but close to it. And so, part of the relitigating question is time and resources. This year, what I've asked people to do is ask their counties and cities that run ballot boards to bring in party balance or boost our confidence that those ballots are being counted properly. Let's skinny down our dependence on that type of what I call absentee voting.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to in-person voting, and I think those efforts will help us overcome what I think is a margin of fraud in Minnesota after decades of frankly sloppy laws in administration.
Sloppy administration, for sure. Yeah, we need fresh blood. I mean, that's the whole thing with me. I like how you put it. Like, you don't have to marry the Republican Party, but you know what?
Right.
You've let the DFL sort of run roughshod in this state for a very, very, very long time, and we're all living with the results. And maybe it's time for some fresh blood, some fresh eyes, and you can clean up some of these messes. And then if you don't like it, put the DFLs back in there at some future date. But, at least give the Republicans a chance to clean things up a little bit and to cut some of the fat from around the edges, because there is absolutely zero incentive for the DFL party in this state to actually reform things and change things and upset the status quo when the status quo keeps getting them elected over and over and over.
Right. The Democrats have been in charge of the Secretary of State's office for almost 16 years. This will be the 16th year. I think that's enough.
I think that's a good run.
It's a good run.
It's a good run.
Give the other side a chance to go in and take a look at how things are done. I offer a different way of voting and counting the votes.
Yep.
They call it voter suppression. Poll after poll shows that especially minority groups love things like photo ID.
Of course they do.
It actually
because it's common sense.
Turnout.
It's common sense, and it does, and you're going to increase turnout when people feel that there is a level of integrity that wasn't there before. Kim Crockett, we are way late and running out of time, so it's all Max's fault. It's all Max. This is why he won't be here tomorrow, and I will.
Yeah. We'll see about that. I'm making an aggressive play over here at the radio station. Okay.
So we're sending out big prayers for John this morning.
Absolutely.
I know he's going to do great, and but I put that up on my Facebook page, and we'll lift him up and get him back soon.
Thank you very much, Kim Crockett. What's your website?
KimSOS.com.
KimSOS.com. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We'll talk to you again real soon.